Okay. Now you go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to, this is Friday, the 11th. This is our agenda meeting for next week. So we do have, today happen to have, if you're looking around, all of the commissioners had some conflicts. Some were kind of emergency, a funeral here or there, and something else. So some of them might be zooming in, but with that, our agenda, but they'll catch up and they know what's going on. So anyway, so good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting.
Good morning, Chairman.
You want to take over?
Thank you. This is the agenda discussion for next Wednesday, August 16th. So Nicole, is there any county business at the beginning?
Yes, sir. Good morning. We have Dr. Mason from the Kansas College of Osteopathic Medicine coming to give an update. We're also going to talk about the VA job fair that's being held on August 18th. And we will also remind folks of the budget hearing on August 23rd, which is also our day for budget adoption. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Nicole. Getting into the agenda, this is the first agenda in a while. We don't have any proclamations or appointments for the first time in many months.
Wow.
So we jump right into new business, and really pretty limited new business items, only two. One is Lindsay will talk about and amending the resolution regarding the item that was voted on by the commission on June 14th, and it has to do with the contract on the Murphy building, and we'll make some adjustments, amendments to that resolution on Tuesday. She'll be there publicly to speak about that. And then Board of Bids and Contracts is the only other new business item. We have a consent list that's fairly long. It's Human Services Day, apparently. The first three items, D, E, and F, are all aging issues. And I think Annette is on Zoom if there's questions, Chairman. The first item, D, is consideration of the grant for a little over 1.8 million from the Senior Care Act funding administered by KDADS, funding our aging department for services given in Sedgwick County. Item E is consideration of a grant regarding aging transportation program. It's actually an additional grant allocation of $46,500 to an already existing program for rural transportation for seniors. And item F is a renewal of vendor contracts, and that's on page 42 of your backup if you want to look at who the providers are for in-home care services for seniors, again, funded by the Senior Care Act through CPAAA. I'll stop there. Annette, is there anything you want to add to that, or Chairman, if you have any questions? And that's not on? Okay. Tim, are you on? Okay, very good. Well, if there's further questions, then I'll have Annette get back with commission.
Okay.
Item G, H, and I are ComCare issues, and I'll do the best I can on this. Item G is an amendment for the 988 hotline service, the suicide prevention service. It's a $1 million grant for that. It's actually not an amendment. It's a funding operational grant for that. Item H on consent is the new CMHC agreement with KDADS that we are signing. And that is an agreement for funding up to $8.5 million. And item I is actually a KDOC service position amendment. ComCare provides a correction liaison specialist for the prison system for KDOC, and that's for an extension of that service for community liaison specialist. Item, still, Joan is on Zoom. Joan, did you have anything to add to any of those?
I'm sorry, we just joined.
No, we're not getting audible. Hold on just a second, Joan. Okay, try it again, Joan.
Okay, I don't know which one you're on, but I'll go back to the I'll go back to the 988. That is the second year of our funding for 988 and in essence pays for our staffing.
Okay,
Can
go
you-
ahead, Joan. You speak up. We're hardly hearing you. This is the
Okay.
first time doing this apparently.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
You go ahead and speak up. We've got you, but it's pretty slight.
Okay, so the 988 is our second year of funding, so it's for just north of $1 million and it in essence pays for our staffing. The second one, I think you're on the participating mental health center contract. Is that the one you're on, Tom?
Yes, that's item H, Joan. Go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah. That one's a significant grant for us. That pays for 4 different things. It pays for us to treat and serve the under and uninsured, and it defines what those expectations are. It's also the mental health block grant from the federal government through KDADS that has designated services. We have to provide that as in essence peer support for that limited amount. It pays for our screening services that we do for the state hospital. And this year there's an addition of $65,000, which is being paid to us for us to pay back to our IPA, our independent contractor organization through our association, to pay for the data warehouse as a CCBHC that the state is implementing. So the contract itself tells us what we have to do in terms of our obligations, in terms of services, access requirements, our reporting obligations on a monthly basis, our outcome expectations, and is pretty significant in terms of what we need to do. So it's an important contract for us, but it's our standard contract. The only change to the contract is the addition of that $65,000 to pay for the data warehouse for CCBHC reporting. And then there's some language changes around our access requirements for foster care youth as a result of the state settlement from lawsuits.
Okay.
Thanks, Joan. Item J is a health department issue, and I know that Adrian sent the commission an email yesterday with explanation for that. It is essentially funding from KDHE to the local health department to and it's in the form of a grant to provide some infrastructure support operations to the health department in the form of a community health worker, a business analyst, and a senior developer that will actually work in IT but service the health department.
Okay. Yeah, we did get that email.
Item K is another ComCare issue. It is a agreement, actually a continuation of agreement between a partnership of ComCare and the Wichita Center for Graduate Medical Education, where we have a relationship with a third-year psychiatric resident to complete a rotation at ComCare. It's an $85,000 funding for agreement for that.
Yeah, that's our contract with KU Med, and it actually pays for 6 different psychiatric residents who rotate through the week with ComCare. It's a win-win.
Good. Thank you.
And the way it reads, Joan, it looks like it's 1 FTE, but it's 6 people that.
Yep.
Okay, very good. And I might let Rusty talk to item L. This is a addition to the MABCD fleet. The commission in the 2023 budget approved a couple of part-time positions, and there was supposed to be a fleet car in that budget. It did not make the budget. So this is a transfer request to take care of that funding for the car. Rusty, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Mr. Labram's here also, but last year through the budget process, Chris had asked for 1 full-time position and then 2 part-times. The 2 part-times were intended to enhance capacity in the area of large project management, and then some inspection on large projects as well, or commercial management, case management, and then large project inspections, because they had more work than they could keep up with. So those two positions were authorized and added this year. He's actually got one of them filled and in the process of filling the other. There was a car that was requested to go along so that those 2 could share the car. They could split their time and use it to get out in the field and do the work they need to do. It did not get into the budget, which I did not realize. I probably knew it at the time, but I forgot. Nonetheless, this was all vetted through WABA and their board as well last year, and they were good with the spending. They saw the need for this. So what we came back to is MABCD is replacing some fleet cars that need to be replaced, and they were going to purchase one additional to take care of these two part-time positions. Talking through this with finance, with our finance director and our CFO, they both concurred that there's funding to do this. Lindsay would prefer to do it this year, as opposed to, otherwise we'd have to push it into 25 because we created a new fund for the MABC monies. She said she would rather do it this year. She doesn't have any concerns about them having the money. It will be a transfer from public safety contingency into the MABCD budget operating funds. But it is MABCD money because MABCD is currently in the general fund. So it's about $27,000 to add this one vehicle. Mr. Labram will manage the set aside through his normal budget process next year and then going forward. If you have any questions, Chris is sitting here. He can talk to it more than I can.
So this is just approving, then it goes through bid board, or is it
So-
approving that as the purchase as well?
Yeah, I should have, thank you for asking that question. This went to bid board a
Okay.
couple of weeks ago for the purchase of the 10 replacement cars and the one new car. Bid board did approve that. However, we pulled it from the agenda because we needed to resolve the issue of the fact that the car had never been authorized as an addition fleet.
Okay.
So on this agenda, bid board will come first, and the purchase of the 11 vehicles, the 10 replacements plus the one new one will come on bid board. And then on consent, you will authorize the addition to fleet in this item. And then it will take care of it so that those monies can be put in Chris's budget. MABCD will have to submit the shopping cart to buy that one car. Bo will buy the rest through fleet fund, and then it'll all balance out after that.
Leather seats. Anyway,
No.
No leather seats.
Item M and N are personnel matters. Item M is a sheriff's matter. He had contacted me late last week about a hiring of an office therapist. This is they had an existing sheriff's office therapist position that they lost the person before they went to another job. They've got a new candidate. They're going to pay them the exact same money that the old candidate, that the old position was getting. And that's this particular item. And I think that they also wanted authorization from commission to give that person an 80-hour bank of vacation.
oh, that's why it's on here. So they're replacing the spot, but it's just, the exception is 80-hour vacation.
And then finally, item N is, and I'll let Joan talk to this too. It's my understanding she wants to remove a hold from 4 positions. I view this as a good news item. I think she's got enough candidates now to where they want to unfreeze some positions. Joan, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I wish it was clinical. I wish it was our master's degree positions, but these are integrated care specialists at Children's Services. We have a wait list of 118 youth. We get about 25 new referrals every week for case management services. So we need these lifted in order to serve these kids to the capacity of what they need.
And that's the rest of the other item is mundane business. I see Annette is online, Chairman, if there was any question on aging. And then we do have a fire agenda. I think there was some minutes approval, and then of course we'll talk any budget issue there. And then we also have an executive session plan for the commission. So that is pretty much the summary for next Wednesday.
Yeah, okay, and we can talk about this, Tom, but it seems like this consent agenda is maybe announce that we have 3, maybe 4. We have 3 things related to aging. We've got 3 items that are cleaning up some ComCare stuff. We got Adrian, health, and then we got. I mean, it just seems like it's categorically maybe just we introduce it that way, and that way, if any of the commissioners were looking at this and want to pull any of them, that could be available. But it does look like some group cleanup to me.
There's a theme this week in consent. Human services is the theme this week.
Yeah, so right, it is, which is some of our basic core functions, which is really good.
And
Okay.
I think a bulk of it is because it's also the start of the state contract year and we're getting caught up with those contracts.
Okay, well, that's worth mentioning as well. So okay. What else you
I
have?
would say, I'm sorry, I just say the same thing for aging. It started the state fiscal year. So we have some contract renewals and then a cleanup item for our KDAC grant. Agenda item is a kind of a finalization for last year's funding changes.
Thanks, Annette and Joan, for being available, and I assume you'll be available Wednesday. Shouldn't be any problem because it's kind of good news stuff.
It is.
All of it is.
And it is, as they've talked about, it is annual routine
Yeah.
basically for the county.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we
All
have. sir.
right. And we've got a message to reminder, Lynn, what we have a township meeting. That'd be the Thursday right after our Wednesday.
Yes,
meeting.
thank you, Chairman. This coming up Thursday is the annual township meeting held by the Sedgwick County Township Association. And all commissioners are invited along with a lot of other officials from Sedgwick County. And this is something they hold every year in August at Lake Afton Park.
And I don't know anything else need to come before. I think we're good. Can we make sure that each commissioner gets their section of this for them, so they know? Okay,
There is an open house at 1:30 this afternoon for commissioners
Oh,
and
that's
media
right.
for at the 911 at the public safety building for the 911 call center.
and we're open back at 911 now?
They'll be actively in there next week, first of next week.
Wow.
But today's an open house for commissioners to come in and see the remodel and for media to also see it
Okay,
at
Yeah.
1:30.
that seems to kind of caught up with us all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Construction projects, you think, oh, it'll take a while.
Been 4 months, but it's wrapped up quickly. So
Yeah.
Stayed on course, and facilities did an excellent job of keeping the project on track and getting it done. So
Well, and speaking of that, can you just comment quickly on where we're at on the parking lot?
facilities is working on that. Obviously, we had the land purchased. Andrew's finalizing the plans. We were trying to coordinate a little bit with WABA because our neighbors to the north are actually going to fence their lot basically simultaneously.
Okay,
So we were trying to coordinate that to make sure that the two complement one another and that it works together. So Andrew's finalizing the plan so that he can start construction on that.
very good. Okay, anything else? Good. Thank you. Everybody have a safe weekend, a nice weekend.
You too.
See you next week.